So you may have thought that I promised to Francisco for this episode. You would be wrong. All right, welcome to the Tilted Real podcast for this week. I am your lone podcast master again, Marshall. Back at it again with the RPG boys. Except it's just me, so it's one boy. But all of us are boys, no matter the gender, because it's BOI. If you're a BOI boy, it's genderless. It means nothing. We are all boys under the one true boy. Can we make a religion out of boys? But BOI. Anyway, so we're alone today again. Life gets in the way many times. We can't make our choices. All we can do is work around the factors that are given to us. Much like the way that the Artificer works, which is what we're going to talk about today, as I am knee deep into looking into the entirety of the way of the Artificer. However, I have, as a part of doing so, been looking at a lot of parts as to what makes the Artificer, and let me tell you that I love it. So if you want a very quick and easy way to learn about the Artificer, you can go watch A Crap Guide to the Artificer by the amazing Joe Cat. I love his videos. They're amazing. But if you are looking for a good discussion about what the Artificer's position is and what it could do for you, and here we are. And let us continue. Let us move on to our discussion. So the big thing about the Artificer, honestly, is how... I should move to the right. There we go. One of the big things I really like about the Artificer is really how... So it's funny, because they're the masters of unlocking magic. The rogue is meant to be the master of unlocking, or Jill Valentine. But they are the masters of unlocking magic in everyday objects. So the nice part about the Artificer, outside of the fact that it is finally another intelligence-based caster that is official, not just UA or whatever. It's also the fact that, the things like their arcane science and their position is really useful. And I'll get into one thing that I somewhat am annoyed about with Wizards on, but that's for later, and not necessarily about the class itself, and a little more about, well, the system. So in terms of the lore part, they enrich an arcane science. So, during the last war, artificers were brought about for a massive scale. So it's fun. What's actually interesting is, so in the world of Eberron, arcane magic has been formed as science and deployed throughout society. Artificers reflect this movement. They use knowledge of magical devices and their ability to infuse mundane items with magic. So what's interesting, though, is they bring up how they almost kind of, during the last war, they were brought up, which goes into kind of, actually is a good segue now for, I guess, what I was referring to. So what's kind of annoying is right now for Adventures League, the only way to be an Artificer is you have to do the Eberron adventure so that you can hopefully, I guess, get some certificate in order to take your Artificer into the Forgotten Realms. Which is weird to me because, I feel like, is there not stuff from Saltmarsh that is in UA? Yet that isn't inherently the Forgotten Realms, as far as I am led to believe. And, B, is it not that... is it not that? Is it really that? Are they really that out there as a class? Like, they were created during the last war, so that's not even in the height of the technology that Eberron has had. is it not that outlandish to think that an artificer could exist somewhere? Like, they can be rare, but that doesn't mean that, like, so, like, that's the thing. You essentially put them in, but nobody has heard of them before because they're not that known. Sure, plenty of players will do that, but inherently to the story, these people don't see every single player of Adventures League. So I don't fully understand the real reason why. Like here, the Artificers in Other Worlds. Eberron is the most associated with Artificers, yet the class can be found throughout the D&D multiverse. In the Forgotten Realms, for example, the island of Lantern is home to many Artificers. And in the world of Dragonlance, Tinker Gnomes are often members of this class. Like, why does it require... I mean, I get it. What they have not stated is whether or not in the next season you will not require that. So I am holding out greater hope. Because, like, I usually when they want to add something, a lot of times they wait for the next season, and if anything, they just do special adventure sets for whatever new thing comes out within the season. So we'll see when the new season comes out, but I'm hoping that we can see maybe we can just add them and not require things like, you know, the certificate and whatnot, because they clearly exist in the Forgotten Realms. So whatever. So let's go over. We'll go over the table a little bit here. So I've been using the Artificer since the original UA, and I've played much of the second UA version, and I love both of them for different reasons. But Artificer is always a class that I've loved because I've also played Artificer in 3.5 and in Dungeons and Dragons Online when I played that a long time ago. So in terms of, like, aesthetics wise, I'm pretty familiar with the Artificer itself. However, there's obviously plenty of differences going into 5th edition. I didn't play much of 4th edition, so I didn't get to do much with it. But yeah, so one of the things that I think are obviously first level, the good thing to point out is, well, so what you can notice is that you're a half caster. So inherently that isn't that unknown because, for example, the Eldritch Knight, which is also a half caster, is an intelligence-based half caster, and the Arcane Trickster is also an intelligence-based arcane half caster. So this is another arcane half caster, but it is one by all of its subclasses. It can't not be a type of caster. And I think that's what differentiates it slightly from things like the Eldritch Knight and the Arcane Trickster, is that it actually is always a caster, where those two are subclasses, and therefore they essentially, you can be a rogue and a fighter but not be a caster. So that's something really important. And then the magical tinkering. It's actually pretty important because it gives, even at first level, it creates a realm of, you actually get to see, like, what it is to be an artificer. Like, the mysticism of what an artificer is and the identity of an artificer is immediately made by giving them magical tinkering. I'm sorry, I'm still full of mucus from my cold. But you can get Tinker's tools pretty easily, or really any artisan's tools. You get it as part of your background, and yeah, so you then touch tiny magical object as an action and give it one of the following properties of light and 5-foot radius and 5 foot initial. So essentially 10 foot of effective light. Whenever tapped by a creature, the object emits a recorded message that can be heard up to 10 feet away. You utter the message when you bestow this property to your object, and the recording can be no more than 6 seconds long. So you can make some sick vines. Where's the Vine Star Artificer? Where is that? Let me know if you do that in the comments below. Hit me up. Let me know. The object continuously emits your choice of odor or nonverbal sound, wind, waves, tripping, or the like. The chosen phenomenon can be perceivable up to 10 feet away. So my argument with the up to is on both of the last two is you can whisper into it, or essentially set it so that it can't be heard for. You can make it so that it's heard up to a distance, and then if you don't, I would argue if you say nothing, if you don't specify how long the object can be heard up to, then by default 10. That would be my rule of thumb if I was a DM with an Artificer. But yeah, but then you can also make like you can essentially make a white noise maker to help your party get to sleep, because that's all we all need in our lives. Notice my computer fans are a little loud. I'm trying to turn it down, but now the program is frozen. Anyway, and then a static visual effect that appears on one of the object surfaces. The effect can be a picture with 25 words of text, lines, and shapes, or a mixture of these elements as you like. So, and what's nice though is the property lasts indefinitely. You can also end it. So if you say you have armor, you want to make, essentially you want to put a picture on a shield or a piece of armor, like shapes on an armor, you can just bam, do that, and it's just done. Which is awesome. I love that. And then you can do it too. Let's see. You can do multiple objects, touching one object at a time you use this feature, though a single object can only bear one property at a time. The maximum number of objects you can affect this without a creature at one time is equal to your intelligence modifier. If you try to extend the oldest property immediately ends. So it's limited, because some of these are helpful. So it bears in mind to have the fact that, like, for example, if you have shapes in your armor, that means your party of 5, is going to suffer when they don't all have dark vision, or if they don't all have dark vision. That's the other thing is, if you give a message to somebody, essentially what you have to do, if you give a message to somebody, you have to then, but like say you have a visual effect on your armor, but then you put a message in this rock, and then you give it to somebody to hand to somebody else. And then, so you give the message, and then you let it go, and then whoever gets it, they activate it, get the message. So as far as I know, then that thing still has the message. It can be activated by anything. So if you want to get rid of it, what you inevitably have to do is you have to like undo your armor and then redo it, so that if inevitably when you need to do other infusion or tinkerings, then essentially the mini infusions, you make sure that your armor is always the newest thing, unless you are able to turn off the effect everywhere else. So I just find that interesting. But what I do like is how the Artificer, like they require tools to do the spell casting, but it doesn't eliminate them. It's just they're the focus. They're the arcane focus essentially. So you don't have to constantly be getting tools. You can use your tools for a good amount of time. So that's what's nice again is but you can always do. What I always like about this is how it is very much just like a tool based in terms of the base class. How it's just a very tool based class, and because it really helps with all 3 of the subclasses. So you can always just get a set of tools when you need them. Like, sure, it takes a while for like the 1 hour uninterrupted work, but hey, like it's there for you. Spell storing item is always a really fun one. You can touch a simple martial weapon, and you can use a spell casting focus, and you can store a spell in it, choosing a first or second level spell from the Artificer spell list that requires 1 action to cast. While holding the object, a creature could take an action to produce those spells effect from it using your spellcasting ability. So you can literally put a first level spell into your sword. My personal favorite is putting Cure Wounds into one of these, so that way when you can hit somebody with your shield and heal them. But I like doing it in a way where it's like it still does like what I just love, because I love it conceptually, where like you still are bashing them with your shield, but you don't do it in a way where it hurts. So it's just like, but it's like, then you're healed. Or you do it in a way where it only hurts a little bit, so the amount you heal outweighs the amount that it hurts. So I always love that. That stuff is always awesome to me. But what's really amazing is, so we'll get to the 14th level one here, though, which is being able to attune up to 5 magic items at once and ignoring all race, spell, and level requirements for attunement. That's super good because that means that the rogue, the thief rogue, I think, is not the only one that has this ability. So now you're going to be able to, now, because especially like for this class to not have this ability, but the rogue to have it would feel really out of place because this is a magical tinkering class. They're meant for magical items, and yet they can't use as many magical items as a rogue. That doesn't make any sense. So I love that this is an addition as well, that pretty much this kind of coincides with the rest of 5e's base classes, where the high level parts are not necessary in many ways. I mean, sure, getting +1 bonus to all saving throws per magic item you are attuned to is very good. I would argue that maybe that one is enough of a reason, but it depends on what your situation is. You know, it definitely warrants it, though, for sure. Probably more than other ones, but it warrants it to a degree. You also essentially get the ability to not die when you get put to 0, or at least like you forget what it's called, but it's like the ability. It's a barbarian ability, I think, where they do this, but I think they get it earlier. But essentially, being a wizard, like essentially being a more weapon based / more essentially being like a fightier wizard that is more into inventions, is way useful to get this ability at any point. But still, essentially this, can be, you can get a +5 to all saving throws, which is amazing. So absolutely useful for sure. And then the Artificer infusions, I think as far as I know, are pretty much the same. I think the Boots of Winding Path are new, which they allow you to teleport up to 15 feet, because I think these are a new item. So I think that's part of it. You can get an enhanced arcane focus, which is actually super useful if you plan to be more of a spellcaster. So you can actually get +1 to your spell attack rolls and then +2. And ignoring half cover is really nice. You get your enhanced defense if you just want better armor. And you can obviously give these to your party members too. But why would you do that? Otherwise, you also... The Homunculus Servant now is an infusion rather than being a part of the Alchemist. Sorry. If you recall in a previous episode, I kind of marked my annoyance with the last version of the Alchemist. Here, 1 second. So yes, the Homunculus is now a infusion, which I definitely prefer. You don't get a whole lot of infusions. That is the downside, right? Like even later on in your levels, let's see, I think the max number of infusions you get, let's see, you get this feature, pick 4 Artificer infusions to learn, choosing for the Artificer infusion section. Oh yeah, the table. So inevitably you can infuse 6 items. So inevitably, the count doesn't become as bad, right? I think in the original versions it was worse, if I recall. But inevitably it isn't. It becomes less of a problem, honestly, because you'll inevitably reach a point where there are roughly slightly more infusions, or your potential infusions to infuse items ratio will kind of mix in a little more. But the homunculus, I actually like that the homunculus is an infusion. It inherently made no sense to be part of an alchemist before. It was just a servant. That's the thing. It was a servant. But so what it did was it helped you make potions, but the potions you made didn't help you. You didn't make interesting potions. You just made potions. Like it really didn't do it. It wasn't a part of the subclass. It just was a thing, an ability you had off time. Otherwise, you just were somebody who had a homunculus servant and then could do stuff. Like that's kind of just what it was. Like it really wasn't. It didn't really add enough, at least right away, which is what was annoying to me. So I'm glad that they kind of removed the homunculus servant from the alchemist, and then just gave it the ability to be able to be used by anybody, because I think any of the subclasses could use the homunculus servant except for maybe battlesmith, but that's because they get an iron defender. So at that point, you might as well. Radiant weapon is an old one, but always been really nice. It's if you want the +2, then obviously enhanced magical weapon is better, but radiant weapon's really nice for being able to get the little bit of that extra radiant damage, which is really useful, or to be able to do the blinding, which is what's really nice. Oh, I guess this is just light. I thought it used to have the ability to do radiant damage. So I wonder if that is different. Interesting. Huh. I guess I hadn't read that part. I guess I glossed over that. I guess I just assumed it was the same. I don't think it is. Interesting. But repeating shot, absolutely the best infusion to get if you are planning on being any type of like gun wielding or just any type of ranged weapon based artificer. Like which is, to be fair, going to be most artificers. Repeating shot is absolutely useful. You cannot turn down its usefulness, especially because you can get it right away. You can't turn this down. It's too good. Replicate magical item can be very useful. Sure. Like the second level artificer getting an arm blade is actually super useful, because that's only attunable by a warforged normally, but apparently not. So because you can do it, you can attune to it. It doesn't have parentheses in here that says only a forged. But getting any of these can be really useful. Wand of Secrets can be really useful if you need it. Goggles of Night can be really useful if you're somebody who, if you're playing a human. Prosthetic Limb is just interesting for story's sake. The Cap of Water Breathing if you're doing any type of like seafaring campaign. There's a lot of stuff that can be really useful. The boots, and then 6th level, you get decently useful stuff. Nothing that I would inherently say is like super demanding or like mind-breakingly helpful or game-breakingly helpful, which is good. You shouldn't have that type of power right away anyway. Let's see. I get it. Okay. It's originally for a Warforged, I guess, so I'm unaware of the entire use of that. I guess it hides the wand, maybe. Let's see. Oh yeah, you get a bag of holding. That obviously though is very useful for a lot of people if they're planning on getting a lot of stuff, especially if you're playing a rogue like Artificer, which is very possible. But 10th level is when you start to get stuff that is definitely helpful, like Braces of Archery, Boots of the Winterlands, Boots of Striding and Springing, Gauntlets of Ogre Power can really help you out. Gloves of Missile Snaring, Winged Boots. Just being able to make all these items is super useful. And then, oh man, you can make even new ones at level 14. Oh my god, you can get a Belt of Hill Giant Strength. Oh my god. And the Arcane Propulsion Arm. What? Oh my god, I didn't know. They brought that back. I forgot about that. Yes. This was, if you're unfamiliar, this was, I'm pretty sure it was in 3.5 as well, but it was in DDO as well, and I love it. It was just funny to me. All right, you can get a repulsion shield. The wielder can use reaction immediately after being hit by a melee attack. Push the attacker 15 feet away. Super useful if you're a ranged artificer. Returning weapon and resistant armor. So yeah, plenty of useful stuff. But then let's briefly, we're going to go through these relatively quickly because not a whole lot has changed in a lot of ways, but enough that we'll just kind of go over these relatively briefly because I think these are better to learn on your own. But Alchemist, definitely more fitting to the name. You can create a better like elixirs, especially you can create them better on the fly. You don't have to, spend downtime essentially to make them. You can use class abilities in order utilize class abilities to do these things. Don't just give proficiencies. And I'm glad they did that. That makes way more sense. Chemical Savant. So let's see. You can gain a bonus one roll to the spell. Restorative Regents. So pretty much, yeah. It's just like as you go through, all of your potions are better. Your potions are consistently better. And you get to make potions that are always different, which is nice. Artillerist, relatively the same as it was. It's not actually too different outside of the fact that I think some of the spells might be different. Otherwise, you get the Arcane Firearm, which for all intents and purposes, as far as I read, originally I thought it was actually a gun. So I thought it was similar to the Thunder Cannon, but I was mistaken. I believe it is actually what I see from what I've read here, and I kind of see. All it does is essentially it allows your spells it just enhances your spells. It essentially shoots your spells through the gun, giving you a D8. That's pretty much all it does, which is fine. I would much prefer it that way. If you're gonna have if you're gonna have guns that do like arcane abilities or like have spell effects to them, it'd be nice if it was just the spell and then a low damage dice, because that'd be a lot. It's a lot to put in. So it's not something I would, if it was like, D8 plus whatever and then a spell, it'd just be a lot, especially at 5. But I'm okay with the way it is here, where it's the D8, or like it's just a D8, no like bonus from your intelligence modifier, and then the spell. Though arguably you could potentially enhance this, but that's besides the point. Explosive Cannon helps your Eldritch Cannon just make it a little more effective. So what I would argue is inevitably what this class struggled with before and still struggles with it as far as I can see is with the ability to for a late game. It's not super amazing, but with the better base class factors that exist now, I would argue that as a whole the subclasses don't have to be as late game heavy, because your items are what's really gonna the massive amount of items you can attune to are what gonna help you be a part of do better in the late game stuff. But Battlesmith, one of my favorites that came out in the last UA, and was still one of my favorites here, just because I love the fact that it gives you essentially a melee. It almost kind of drives you now to be able to do a melee class with the Artificer, which I really like, because it's really good for the idea of being a hammering dwarf, but also an inventor. Being a smith, it allows you to be a smith. You build. You're always a builder, but that means you're probably not going to be somebody who uses a finesse weapon or a crossbow. It's not your thing. You're a smith. You're going to use your hammer, big sword. You're going to use the weapons that you make. Sure, you probably make the ranged weapons too, but it just isn't the same. Now it depends. Anybody can play the way they want, but to me it was a downer. So what I love that they have now is once you reach level 3, when you attack with a magic weapon, you use your intelligence modifier for the attack and damage rolls, which is awesome, because you can infuse your weapon to be magical. So therefore, there should be no reason that you can't have a magical weapon in martial weapons. So you can still have your strength. You don't have to roll high for everything, which is what's really useful. That's what makes these classes useful. What hurts a class is when it requires too many skills, or too many abilities to be really high. It really allows you to focus on your intelligence, and then maybe dexterity second, dexterity or con second. But that's what's really nice about that. And then the Steel Defender, I love how this dog looks so sad. It looks so sad. Oh, but I love him. I love this dog. He's my favorite. But the Steel Defender's cool. It's a great. It is the Iron Defender was great. It's Steel Defender now, I guess. But I always love it. It grows. It can grow with you in a way which is really cool, and you can mend it. You can just use mending to help heal it. It's able to be rebuilt without too much inhibitance, which is also really good. So I like that a lot. I do it. Also, he makes the ranger furthermore a giant joke, and at least especially animal handler or whatever it's called, definitely makes it not one you would really want to play. You also get extra attack, which is really nice, and it really holds into the realm that this is a battle class, and that's why I love that it gets extra attack. Arcane Jolt is something it was in the last one, but I think it just is what you need to make these help with. It's just you're making this a martial artificer, which I love. So you can choose a creature or object. Healing energy flows between them. So let's see. You can channel magical energy through the strike to create one of the following effects. So yes, so you can heal. You can just heal. You can heal smash. Oh, I love it. Now you can't. This isn't every time you attack. It's amount of times equal to your intelligence modifier. But hey, it's something. It's also a free heal. You don't have to spend. You don't have to do it. Like, this is a level 1 cure wounds at 9th level. It's pretty awesome. Like, you can just take your hammer and just be like, boom, or like healing dart somebody where it's like, boop, you've been healed. So yeah, and then 15th level, just these things become better. So your Steel Defender gets better. Your Arcane Jolt becomes a 46, so it just is better. You can do an extra attack. You can't do this obviously more than once a turn, but hey. And then your Steel Defender just it can take more force damage because that's going to be happening around level 15. So that was pretty much everything about the Artificer. I hope you enjoyed that. It's one of my favorite. It has always been one of my favorite classes in the game, and it's absolutely one of my favorite additions to 5th edition. I'm really happy that it's around, and it only makes me want more. I only want more classes. It took too long. It took way too long for them to make another class. So I'm really hoping that this kind of gets them over the hump, and that they really that they can start adding a couple more classes. Though, to be honest, I have seen the arguments or kind of seen a little bit of the reasons why they don't, and I kind of don't mind that the Artificer or that like they are just kind of taking more of a major subclass approach rather than a bunch of classes. But some classes actually do add something based on what I've seen based on what I have seen in homebrew stuff. But it's something that I would really like. But otherwise, that'll do it for this episode. We'll see you guys next week. And soon enough, we're going to be having more episodes of our Let's Plays up very shortly. Now that I'll have the time to be able to get to those. So I will see you guys later. Have a good one.